Okay, welcome back. This is Dory from J. Jim Hunter, and today we're going to talk about treated versus untreated jadeite. I think this is a very important for you folks. I think if you folks like jade and love to collect jade or want different types of jade to match your different outfits, you should at least take a look at what this had to say, um, especially if you like natural, untreated jade. And and this is part of our series of vlogs. Um, we've done 6 so far. This is our 7th. I skipped the jade simulant because I want Barbara with me. She knows a lot more about the other types of gemstones that are sold as jade and or called jade, but they're really not jade. Um, so today we're going to talk about treated versus untreated, but we're also going to talk a little bit about how do you know if jadeite is real or not. So I think that's very interesting. And all of the questions and uh, things that we talk about today, we have to scrutinize all the sellers about each one of each one of them, and depending on their transparency, we'll dig deeper with them. Sometimes we bring out some of our tools and they become honest. So it's just part of the hunting process. But we have to do it whether we're in Thailand, Myanmar, China. It's just the nature of the beast. We ask you all to join us on the hunt. We love it when you say, gee, I'd really like this or that. That way we can put it on a list and look for it. And sometimes we don't find it on that very hunt or the next one we go on, but eventually so far we've been able to find what people are looking for. And this vlog, as I already mentioned, this will help you become a better shopper or collector. And our mission is a portion of what we make go to help children in need. Okay, so why is jade treated? Uh, Fundamentally, the Chinese have been treating nephrite and jadeite since the beginning. They like things to look used or they look old, and they would chemically treat it or um, they would throw it in the dirt. That's sort of a harsh way of saying it, but they would make it look old and stained or whatever. So it's a common practice that is not new. It's very old. It's ancient. Second is there's a growing demand for a growing population. I mean, we're talking about a population that is 1.4 million, which is, I don't know, 4 times more than the population in the United States. Although it's almost the same size as the United States, and it continues to grow incredibly fast. And second is that population not only growing, but the the ability, the middle class ability to spend more money on discretionary type things is increasing that desire and demand to buy jade. Jade is inherent in the Chinese culture. And as I talked about that in one of the, maybe the second vlog, language and jade intermix. So, go back to that one and you'll see some examples. In a future vlog, I'm going to get into a lot more detail about that. So, so because it's impossible to meet the demand for that perfect color that everyone wants, that rich, vivid imperial green, that clear, transparent jade, that fine texture jade. Since they cannot meet the demand, they will try to figure out other ways, meaning treating it. So treatment is pervasive. It's not like it's a small percentage. Um, I've heard and read that 90% of the jadeite that is sold in Taiwan, and a comparable percentage in Hong Kong, and a comparable percentage in mainland China is commonplace, and and as a result of that, jadeite has jadeite finished products have been classified into A, B, C, B plus C, and D grades. So with finally, in America, treated jade must be disclosed to the buyer. The question is it volunteered, or does the buyer have to ask? So it behooves you to ask if the jadeite is treated or not. Untreated jadeite type A, I thought was a very simple topic, but it's getting to be a little bit murky. Um, Generally, uh, the stone is cut to whatever shape, uh, eventually to whatever shape they want. It's polished, it's sort of cleaned up, rinsed and dried, and then it's soaked in wax or surface wax. What makes it a little bit murky is wax is now being manufactured in China in colors. So while we're in Mandalay, we find sellers who are selling to the Chinese, and the Chinese pay a premium for colored wax bangles. So that's another question that we have to ask. Is it colored or not? And from a gemologist lab perspective, um, depending on who you talk to, it is considered untreated, but it turns out some of the waxes are so strong that they're soaking into the stone itself. Um, so, so when the wax was weak, the waxing treatment was considered an international practice. So disclosure wasn't required, and it was considered untreated. But with some of the stronger waxes, um, one lab refused to certify it because the wax was, it's a combination. The jadeite stone was a little bit more porous, lower quality, and the wax was stronger. So the combination of the two made it uncertifiable. So it's just one of the things that we have to deal with when we're hunting for you. It's all okay. It's just stuff. Finally, this is I think another growing murky area: heated jade, where yellow jade or red jade is heated to become more red. And it's a common practice for the Chinese market because red jadeite represents happiness. Um, we've talked to three gemologists. Two worked in labs, one worked for a private company. Two said that heated jade is untreated. One said that it considered treated, but there's really no category to put it in. The only jade that he treated is yellow, brownish red jadeite, and it can be heated to yield a red color. So what happens here is is the yellow or red jade that has traces of red jade is cleaned up, and it's just wipe clean. It's not soaked, and it's placed in an oven at 100 to 200 degrees centigrade. And you can do this in your home oven. And what happens is it will eventually turn red. And what happens there is the limonite, which is the yellow, will sort of fall into the background, being dominated by this other element called goethite, something like that, goethite, which transforms. This is an actual chemical transformation into hematite. And as you saw in the colors blog, hematite naturally is red. Um, from my own experience, these are hearts that we had made in Mandalay, but because of COVID-19, we can't pick them up. But these are natural, these are unheated, and they're translucent. So if you put a light behind it, you'll see the translucency. But these are other um, uh, pieces of red jadeite that you can tell the yellow is, this one was heated for a while, and they, for whatever reason, they stopped heating it, but you can tell that it's very opaque. So that's one distinction. There hasn't been a lot of research that I've found that that describes heated yellow jade or heated red jade. So we have to learn it from experts who've been in the business for a long time. Okay, so that's A. So A in general is straightforward, but a couple of elements of murkiness in it when it comes to waxing and when it comes to heating. So I'll keep a lookout for any progress in those areas. So type B is jadeite that's been bleached and polymerized. Bleached to get rid of all of the, call it, the internal browns and yellows, which I don't think is necessarily bad, but if you want that clean, transparent, very translucent uh, type of jadeite, then you may prefer to bleach and polymerize, at least within the affordability range. But what happens is this. So if you saw the vlog about the chemistry of jadeite, this is this is normal jadeite. Pure jadeite is clear, and if it has a rougher texture, it will be more opaquish. Uh, but but if it's clear, icy looking, this is the formula. And when you bleach it, you're literally taking out the sodium. And from a physical perspective, the result is a brittle piece of what used to be jadeite that looked dull and chalky. And as you folks know, jadeite has a very lustrous look. Okay, so 90% of the jadeite sold in Taiwan, large amounts in Hong Kong, and it's getting that way in mainland China is type B, um, which surprised me. But what it does mean is the hunt is more difficult because we just sell natural jade, and it's more difficult to find the natural. And and when folks go into the websites of Chinese sellers, they just have to be aware of this. Okay, so in summary, the way it works is the finished product or the semi-finished bangle, for example, is immersed in nitric hydrochloric or sulfuric acid for weeks, and that jadeite is neutralized. Actually, it's destroyed, and it gets into that what I call brittle state, and then it is polymerized. And it's polymerized either sitting in a tank, or it could be put into a centrifuge to help push that polymer into the jadeite. And what the polymerization does, it sort of glues together any element of brittleness, and it strengthens it, sort of like polyurethane. on your picnic table or floor. So even though it's unstable, it's been stabilized with the polymerization. And finally, this is interesting. If you put a UV light on a type C jadeite, you might see a glow or parts of it to glow. Okay, so here's an example of preparing bangles for the bleaching. I use the term bleach, but it means dipping these bangles into acid. But what's interesting about these pictures is the bangle is actually wired together with a something. I actually don't know what they are, but they're wired together with something that's impervious to the acid, so it's not affected by the acid, and it's dipped in the acid uh, for weeks. Here it says it's actually will soak in a near boiling solution for 1 week. So I didn't know it was boiled. So here's a case of a before and after. It's not the exact item, but it gives a sense of what is expected after the bleaching takes place and after it's been polymerized. So uh, I don't. So honestly, I don't view these as undesirable because it's natural. But it really depends on what people are looking for, and in my mind, what they're trying to make it match. And this is a type B bleach and polymerized. So all the brown, for example, I don't know if it's this one. I don't think it is. No, this is a modern. This is a classic design, but all of the call it the browns have been and spots have been eliminated. Okay, now we have gray type C. Um, Type C is dyed jadeite. So quite often, if you have a piece of white jadeite or clear jadeite or icy jade, they will dye it with imperial green or lavender, but also red and yellow. So what they do is they clean it off, they heat it, cool it, vacuum it, they dye it, and that can be a combined process. Then they clean it and wax it. So so type C jade is where they're actually putting colors in it. So I just added this because we originally I was going to have the simulant vlog before, but even simulants are jade. Anything to make a gemstone look better, there's probably a technique to deceive the consumer by dyeing or doing some kind of treatment. So here it says dyeing has been around since the 1950s. Okay, so so these are a couple of examples. These are glassy or icy jadeite. And these are, I found this, it's a company called Trade Easy, but these are waxes these are colors, but they also come in waxes that you can buy to dye stone. Okay, and I talked about the UV light. So you can look at this um, after I posted this up. But what's interesting is this is a natural color here, I believe, but it doesn't show up in the UV. But there's also this luminescent, fluorescent type viewed in a dyed area. So there's no fluorescent where it's natural. So this is natural here, and there's no fluorescence. But in the dyed areas, it is fluorescent. So with a UV light, you can tell if it's dyed or not. And you can buy these UV lights probably on Amazon. Um, then you got the B plus C. B plus C is where you bleach, then you dye, and then you polymerize it. So I didn't have pictures because I think it's sort of obvious. Grade D are doublet or triplet. Basically, what they do is they reconstruct something that looked like a cabochon, and they make it look good. Okay, now here's I have a picture somewhere. Doublet is you have a convex dome, and it's sort of like an upside down bowl, and then you put inside something like plastic, something that makes it look imperial green. So you think that it is a single cabochon that is imperial green with very fine texture, very transparent. And then you have the triplet, which is a upside down bowl, that convex dome, a thin layer of plastic of imperial green. It'll be a film. And then you have a cabochon that will fill in to make it look whole. So I think I have a picture here. Let me see. This is very uncommon. Here you go. So here's the upside down bowl here. Let's say a clear piece of pure jade. Then you have this film that matches imperial green. And then they will put here a another cabochon. So it's a triplet, 1, 2, 3 pieces. So here's the summary, treated versus untreated. A is untreated natural, untreated jadeite. Treated, chemically treated and polymerized. C is dyed. B plus C is chemically treated, dyed, and polymerized. And the D, which is not common, is the doublet and the triplet. Okay. I put this here because depending on what country you're in, you got to know the terminology that they use. Okay, so they would say type A jade, and that means old jade. That means it's jadeite. Doesn't mean it's untreated. And old jade is older than B jade. And what B jade is also called new jade. But new jade is not, or B jade is not jadeite. It generally, from our experience, is a chalcedony or it's albite. So it's called, what I'll say is like a million years younger than jadeite. Albite, for example, literally become jadeite after, I really don't know the number of years, but after a million years under low heat and pressure, lots of pressure. So, so we have to remember wherever we are and people talk about jade and whether it's A jade or B jade, A jade in Myanmar does not mean it's untreated. We have to ask the question whether it's been treated or not treated. And they'll say, oh, it's A jade, don't worry about it. And we can't believe them. Okay, so I think this is an interesting topic. And I think it's a topic that everyone should be aware of. How do you know if it's really jade? Jade is cool. There are there are people who dive into the murky waters of the rivers in the Pecan mine. You saw my vlog on the Pecan mine, but they go into the river of the Pecan mine, and the water could be murky, um, and from the runoff of the soil during the rainy season. And they have this little pick, and there's two things that they do. They they hit the rocks at the bottom of the river, and they also touch the rock, and they can tell if it's jade, if it's cool. And jade also has a very different sound that you don't get with other rocks. Um, it will have more of a thuddy type of sound. Uh, you folks won't be diving into the river to look for jade, but you can get two pieces of jade and knock them together, and you get a long, very distinct sound. So those are two very easy ways of knowing whether it's jade or not. Jade is just distinctly a cool stone. Jade is heavy, it's very concentrated. I know when we ship some of our stuff to people, they're surprised by the cost of postage, but it's just a very heavy stone. If you have the permission, you're hunting around with jade, you can scratch it with a steel knife, and if it doesn't scratch, it's likely jadeite. If it does scratch, uh, it doesn't mean it's not jade, but it's likely not jade. The reason why you can feel comfortable doing that is the Mohs scale, Mohs, Mohs scale, puts a number against meadow, stone, talc, and diamond, ruby. Jade is about 6.5 to 7 on the Mohs scale. I don't remember what the steel is, but it's much softer than jadeite. Diamond, by the way, is 10. Corundum, rubies, and sapphires are 9. But jadeite is 6.5 to 7. Um, Jadeite has a texture. Even if it's a fine texture, there is a texture. So anything that's perfectly clear could be glass or another type of stone. And when we get into simulant, you're going to find that there's glass jade that is a simulant. For example, Aomori jade in Japan. Not that it's cheap; in fact it's very expensive. And even in China, they make jades that made of glass. So that tend to be very clear. If you see bubbles in your jade, you know it's not jade. You can see inclusions, you can see natural bubbles, but there's a very distinct look of glass bubble. Degrees of translucency in the same piece. What that means is if you get your flashlight or torch and you put it at the back of your jadeite piece, you'll find that the translucency isn't the same. Okay, and a piece of glass is usually the same, but you'll see maybe a more translucent area as well as a less translucent area on the same piece. Colors are naturally and consistently jadeite colors. You can go back to the color wheel that you can take from my vlog, or you can go to the Mason K website. Just Google Mason K jadeite colors, and you'll get a picture of the color wheels. But often you'll see that jadeite, treated jadeite, have the same color as the real jadeite, but it's just too concentrated. And it's because lavender, for example, is caused by a small amount of trace element. And I show pictures of purple lavenders in the colors, and although I think they're true based on the price, so for a little cabochon about this big, it'll be about $6,000 to $8,000. So I give it more credence because price will drive uh, the quality would drive the price of the jadeite, but I wouldn't buy it online. I'd want to see it in person and touch and feel it and do a little investigating before I say it's a go. Imperfection. No stone is perfect, so expect inclusion. And they can be cracked, they can be veins, they can be whatever, but only if it's exceptional, you're going to see inclusion. And if you don't know for sure, you spent a lot of money on it, or you're about ready to purchase it, there should be a way that you can take that piece of jade to a jeweler or gem lab, and they have all the sophisticated tools. One of the things I didn't talk about with the polymerization, some of the polymers are so technology advanced that a UV light cannot detect it, and you need to use, you'll see right here, the infrared spectrometer that will help you decide. And I have a picture of it. And what it showed to show that it's not a natural jadeite. These are just some of the tools. This is a 10x 10 power loop, and you can check for inclusion, you can check for bubbles, you can check for cracks, see if they're real cracks or natural cracks. There's a lot of things you can do with a very simple tool. I carry a 10x and a 30x loop. 30x is more like a microscope, but sometimes people like gemstone, so I use that. This is the light that I talk about, the torch light. They come in UV and white. You can usually get it all in one device. A refractometer. Maybe I should give you the. This thing probably costs, I don't know, I don't think more than $5. This thing will cost maybe $10, $15. I'm in Asia, so I'm giving you the Asian price. Refractometer, a decent one costs maybe $100. These cost. This is specific gravity scale. Every gemstone has a specific gravity. I forgot what this cost. I think it's a few $100. It's not cheap. And this is the most expensive one. I've heard it cost anywhere from 100 to 250,000 US. So this is a very powerful machine. Here's an example. On a polymerized, this is a non-polymerized piece of, it's a bangle. And so this is the one I just showed you. So this one is non-polymerized, it's natural. But these are all polymerized bangles where the polymer could not be detected using a UV light. This was given to me by a woman who actually graduated with a degree in gemology, specializing in jade, both jadeite and nephrite. So she was very nice to let me take a picture of that. So the challenge is, even though it's polymerized, and books may suggest that you can detect it with a UV light, the polymers are so sophisticated that they can't be detected by a UV light, and you need to have one of these FTIR spectroscopes to be able to detect whether it's natural or not. And that's a problem. Oh, and yeah, so just to give a sense, in Bangkok, a normal certification cost about $100, maybe $120, and to do this, it was hundreds more. And the reason why I use that more general hundreds more is that they have other tools they call the laser ablation or ablation laser, and a couple other devices where you have to buy the package to go into more detail. So so for $100 you just get the basic test that we could do for, I don't know, $10 in Mandalay. I can't remember, $10 or $15. I will just go this far. This is the heading says everything. If it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So you can cut and paste this, but here I'm looking at a beautiful transparent lavender jadeite. It's grade A natural lavender jadeite jade bracelet bangle. For $100.56. So right off the bat, I say it's probably B plus C. So it's not possible to have a bangle that you can mass sell for $100.56. So when they say certified, here's my skeptical comment on that. So in the jade market in Mandalay, there are more than one gem laboratories that will certify your merchandise. What you don't know is who owns that lab. And what we found out through some of our friends is that the labs are owned by the sellers. So it's lipstick on pig. It's make believe. So you have to be very careful when you buy these. I'm gonna guess something like this would cost maybe tens of thousands if it were real. Just to give you a sense, you can get 2 or 3 bangles out of 1 kilo of a rough stone. And if you were to find a piece of lavender like that in a rough stone, why would you make a bangle if you can make hundreds, I don't know, dozens or hundreds of cabochon for ring, bracelet, necklaces, earring, and so on, and make more than what you can make with a bangle. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen a purple bangle that was natural, untreated. But take a look at this website and you'll find a whole bunch of great deals. But in terms of grade A, I don't know. Certified, I don't know. Natural, yes. I mean, it could have been jadeite at one point. Is it jadeite anymore? I don't know. It could be bleached to death. And again, like I said before, jadeite that been bleached is no longer jadeite. I just put this as an example of what you might expect with a gem lab report. Some of our customers have some from Mandalay, but this is a little bit more substantial. It's in Chinese, but it's also in English. And it is a, not an international firm, but it is a legitimate lab. So, thing to consider when buying higher end jadeite, of course, get a certificate, but it seems like there is an international convention of the certificate being accurate, being in English. Make sure it's understandable. Make sure that you understand the gemological lingo context. Of course, know your seller. Watch out for the simulant. Watch out for the misleading use of the word jade. And if the price is unbelievable, then I'd walk away. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And this is again my perspective. When you're buying jade, you have to think to yourself, if you're buying it for jewelry, you're collecting it just because you like to collect them, because jade is one of the most fascinating stones that I've ever seen, with its range of colors and textures and uses and so on. Or are you buying it for investment purposes, or a combination of all of the above? If you're buying it for investment, wait for my vlog on valuation of jade. This is one valuation methodology, but it gives you a sense of the complexity of putting a number on a piece of jadeite. So if it's for heirloom purposes, then there's a very personal element associated. But it's for investment. I had an example on the colors, an example on how much an individual spent for one. So he did have a return on investment in ROI, which we don't know whether he realized it or not. So um, a lot about a lot of a lot about buying jadeite is why are you buying it, and I think it's incredibly fascinating stone. I think it gives you incredible, I don't know, mesmerizing thing to look at over and over again. But nonetheless, this helps you put a little objectivity uh, into your perspective on jade. Um, Make sure you go to a reputable lab. I just listed some of the ones that I've been told is reputable. I put this isn't a complete list, but a lot of these are international. AIGS is Bangkok based, GIA is international, GIT, ICA. There's many, this is a Swiss one. Then you have Grubelin, there's others, but make sure the lab is reputable. Oh, so that's it for untreated and treated. So again, I hope you found this interesting. I think it's helpful for you, and I think you'll enjoy it. Maybe I hope it's not too overwhelming, but fortunately, you get to look at it over and over again. So like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube. You'll find this on Jade Space Gem Space Hunter on the YouTube channel. Submit any comments on Messenger, Jade Gem Hunter on YouTube. Tell us, tell your friends about us. I think this one in particular, I'll emphasize you to share for those who collect jadeite. and we always want to hunt for you. So thank you.